Welcome to Wear Your Cape to Work, a podcast hosted by Project Insight. We believe that project and program managers are the real superheroes of every organization. They wear their capes to work every day, and we want to celebrate them. Our guests on the podcast are project professionals who have poured their superpowers into driving successful projects across different industries. We want you to hear their stories so you can be inspired to wear your own cape to work. Our superhero PMP guest today is Sree Karanakarun. She grew up in India and graduated with a degree in engineering. Her first role was as an IT developer in mainframes, but she moved from developer to business analyst to project coordinator to project manager, and all of this took place in the healthcare side of things. In fact, she spent 20 years in healthcare before she completely made a pivot and left and switched to becoming the senior IT project manager for Douglas County, Colorado, so now on the community government sector side. We'll talk to her today about what it's like to completely pivot industries and hear about her superpower to see through the chaos as a project management professional. Thank you so much for joining us, Sree. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Trina. I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for joining us too.
Absolutely. Really looking forward to this conversation.
So we met at the PMI Global Summit in Los Angeles in September, which honestly feels like it was yesterday, but it's months behind us now. And Sree was there, and she had just kind of made a move to a new role. She's had a lot of experience in the healthcare space over her career path. And we thought it would be really great to talk about that path and how she built up that expertise over almost 20 years, I think, Sree, and then made a change into a new area of project management. But can you share with us a little bit about your background and how you got started and what, niche industry you were a part of and where that took you?
Absolutely. I'm glad. So I grew up in a very small township in India, and then it was just my family, friends, very, very, very small. And I got my graduation in engineering, again from India, in electronics and communication. That was my first stepping stone. Then I moved into IT, software field, where I was working started my career as an IT developer in mainframes.
Oh, you did?
So we can
Okay.
think about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
COBOL, JCL, database, everything. That's
Wow.
where I started as a developer. So from developer, I moved into a lead position and then a business analyst. From there, again, interacting with other people. Project management intrigued me because they can oversee multiple people. They have more visibility on what's going on in a project, whereas as a developer or business analyst, you are focused on your own domain. So then
That
I
makes sense.
started moving up as a project coordinator, and thankfully throughout these career, I had wonderful bosses who helped me, who mentored me, who challenged me some of the time. So you take on those challenges. So I became a project coordinator when I moved here to the States while working on the project, and then into project management. So throughout, like you said, most of my career, since I started, I was always in healthcare industry, right from, so I was with insurance in the insurance domain, and most of my time, starting with 2004 till 2000, I would say, till 2000.
Time goes
Up
by.
until now, right? 2023, I was in healthcare industry, but with different domains, like I said, insurance. Then I moved into hospital, all within the IT, doing IT project management and the back end of the system, the coding and billing piece of the whole healthcare system.
What a great experience you had to know the roles of the people that you were then managing projects with. We've had other guests on the show. I'm thinking right now of Stephen Hall, who joined us from Fairlife Milk, and he also came up through production at Fairlife. And because of that, when he runs projects, he really can put himself into the shoes of all of these other people that he's working alongside and the tasks that they're meant to accomplish. Do you feel the same?
Absolutely. I think that is one of my very strong strength I talk about whenever I'm interviewing for new positions, because you could step into those people shoes and see, okay, what they need, what they are looking for. And also sometimes project managers, like I tend to wear multiple hats. It comes to my advantage sometimes, comes to my disadvantage sometimes as well. I can be a business analyst, I can be a testing coordinator. I can also look into the code and say, hey, what we are doing, and look into the
Yes.
data. So
I'm pretty sure that developers must really find that a blessing, because when you relate with development personnel, this is really technical and a language that
mhm.
people are speaking and talking about, that if you have no development background, you're on the outside looking in. And sometimes those relationships can be strained out of not being aware.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I think especially if you're outside of that IT space specifically, there's so many different, methodologies employed and this kind of,
Mhm.
quasi, cult-like, this is how
Yeah.
we process. And unless you can speak that day-to-day language, like Sree has those skills to do,
Yes.
it makes it so
Mhm.
difficult, right, to get in there.
Did
So,
that work for you,
yeah.
Sree? I mean, did you see that happen? Okay.
Yes, it helped me even in so much of my project to help understand the business when I'm in a project wearing multiple hats, why we are doing it, what the development team is doing, what why it's this way, not the other way. So it helps me to paint a better picture for the business. Same thing when I'm bringing the requirements back to the development team. I was able to
Yes.
break it down in their terminology, saying, hey, this is what we want. Maybe we need to look into this piece of it or look at those data so we can make sure the business is happy. So I was able to bridge that gap between the business and the technical folks. So that has been one of my strongest suite when implementing project, and always also helped me see through the chaos,
Mm.
right? Like multiple different interfaces, multiple integrations. There is development, there is database, there is vendors. So there is people side of it, there is a technical piece of it. It's not one. I don't want to say one size, or it's not just one component we are implementing in any projects. There are multiple stakeholders
Mhm.
involved. There is also multiple technologies involved. How do we organize those, put everyone in the correct, like think about puzzle, put every puzzle pieces in the right way so we can look at the
Are you
final
good at
beautiful
puzzles?
picture.
Are you good at puzzles? I mean, outside of work, are you good at puzzles too? Like actual puzzles?
I like doing puzzles. I wouldn't say I'm good at puzzles, but I like solving those puzzles.
The abstractness of the
Mhm.
project is much better than the box of the puzzle that you're going to dump out on your table, right?
Exactly. I want to applaud
Yes.
both you and Matt, because Matt is one of our sales executives here at Project Insight, and he also has
Hmm.
to bring requirements to our development team and our success team once he's working with a customer, right? You're bringing what that customer needs and translating it into development speak. And sometimes those things can go missed. I might, as a creative, want to say, you're just going to have to put this button here. And a developer might be like, well, you don't
Mm,
know the 20,000 reasons that can't go there, and and you now can bridge that gap
yep.
because you have the understanding of those requirements. I think that is cool. Now, we didn't plan to talk about this, but I do think there are project management professionals listening who think to themselves,
Hmm.
I do not have coding background and I'm working in IT project management. Do you have advice for, if I don't know how to code, how can I respect that background of a developer and make that relationship more positive, even though we don't speak the
Hmm.
same languages? Do you have any advice for how that can work the best for teams?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. I love it. Thank you,
Hmm.
Trina. But how I'm going to answer it,
I know,
that's
right?
going to be interesting as well, right? Um, I even like I come from a technical background, but moving into government, now I'm into government sector. That's a new job I
Yes.
took. There's a lot of unknown.
Yes.
Even though I'm working in the IT space, there is a lot of unknown. Your project managers are constantly looking for, like, what, learning more about what is this about, how can I help the other team member? How can I support them with this? So don't be shy about asking the developer questions. Like stepping into this new role, technology has advanced a lot. Like Microsoft keeps calling the same thing different terminologies.
Oh,
It's
sure.
just a
Right.
term is different, but it's
Right.
basically moving one place to another. So try to break it down into what makes sense for you. You can relate it to your real-time examples. It's all like you can call it, you don't have to get into the detail. Just stay at the 1,000-foot level and ask the developer, can you help me understand? I think if you ask for help, everyone you're working with will be willing to take you through their experience or share what they're working on. And be frank with them. You don't have to teach me code by line by
Yes.
line coding what you're doing. Just
Yeah.
tell me what you need, what you're working on, and then what I should report on. Then you build that relationship with the development team, and you're always representing them how they want to be represented rather than you making the misconception and you are saying something for them.
That's the
So that
nugget.
has always helped. Yeah, that has always helped me showing the limelight on the person who's actually doing the work rather than you taking all the credits for the work others are doing.
Yeah, that's
Clearly
not
so.
easy, because we all
No.
want to be represented well. And the project manager
Mm,
or program manager may find themselves in that intermediary role so much more often than any other team member, right? You're not necessarily doing the work, but you're representing the work to people who
absolutely.
then have a view of the person you're representing. And you have this pivotal, time where you can say, I'm going to represent this person, one, accurately, but two, positively, to
Hmm.
help them, in their own career path to, be applauded or respected or, seen in the light that they probably want to be seen.
So, as a project manager who are listening to this conversation, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty details. Stay high level and always learn from the team where they want to be checked, what they want to be checked on, and what they're working on. And I think that helps us clean and move on and set your timelines, your requirement with them. Hey, I need this to be done by this one.
Yep.
Do you think you can get it done? If not, what can you get it done and pivot or adjust your project plan accordingly? So it's always a give and take between you and your team so that we can run a successful project.
And I can feel that relationship building happening. If I respect you and your structure and gates and critical deliverables, and
Hmm.
then you also are respecting that I have to report on or, offer some progress or status update, on all of these things. Or there's a successor task or whole project that, depends on you and when you can deliver this. So
Hmm.
that seems like people,
Hmm.
there be mutual
Yep,
respect. That's great.
absolutely.
I segued way far
Thank
away
you.
from how you made this transition from healthcare to government project
Uh,
management. But let's talk about, maybe we should just talk about healthcare first. You described it
uh-huh.
to Matt and I at one point, either at PMI Global or in another conversation, that healthcare project management is like an ocean. So our audience now is imagining vastness. What did you mean by that? And, how did you navigate oceanic currents and such?
I love ocean. Where I grew up, I was very close to the ocean, so I
Oh,
can
so
always relate
Oh,
nice.
to that. But I think every industry has its own ocean, I believe. So
Mm,
now
hmm.
we talked about healthcare and I moved into government now.
Yes.
I think I'm starting slowly to get my feet wet. I'm not there yet. It's again a vast industry in itself. So
hmm
healthcare, when I started with insurance industry. So how you process claims, the main business is running, we called it back then, pharmacy benefit manager. That is the
Hmm.
core system. I had not like, so I'm still learning, right? When we started, I don't know what is PBM, what is eligibility, who are the patients, who are the
Hmm.
providers, what does a claim
A
do?
carrier.
What do
hmm
you, what do you know? It was, uh, Like when you learn, or I learn through projects, through experience. That's the way that's better sits with me rather than giving me a document and read through it and understand all the concept. That doesn't work for me. It's not me. I'm more like a visual auditory learner and more by experience learner.
Mm-hmm.
So every project is a stepping stone for my learning and it's feeding my curiosity. Um, so insurance, and then I thought like I learned what healthcare industry is after being in the insurance industry for I think 7+ years. Okay, I think I got it all. I now can talk the terminology. I
Right.
can relate to what people are saying, and then my with my background skills and development business analyst, I should be able to run projects. I was pretty confident. I think by the time I was in the States, I had to get a job here locally. So got into hospital system. And I
Mm.
was very proud about saying, hey, I worked in the healthcare. I know your
Yeah. Yeah.
terminologies, and then I should be able to help you with all the projects you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Man, did you discover it's a total different industry in itself.
Wow.
Oh,
So for our audience who's listening and not seeing this visually, Sree was shaking her head no to that. Like
yeah.
no, that wasn't going to help enough.
Night and day difference, right?
Night
Like
and
not
day
what it was.
difference.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. But yeah, there are some terminology still sticks around in the healthcare industry, but it's totally different business altogether. You are projects are should be implemented thoughtfully when you are working because it's all patient facing. Um, and what projects get done,
Mm.
how you interact with them, how you communicate with them. Some projects there will be patient communication, and you should be very mindful of your communications with them. And there was one project. There were many projects I implemented, but with my background in electronics and communications, and in the hospital industry, there was one project where we were implementing for cardiology departments.
Oh,
It's a simple system upgrade or new system implementation for that department. But when I heard the device that we implemented will be used during cardiac surgery from a 3 month
oh,
old
Oh.
baby to
wow.
80 years old.
Oh my.
So
What a
those are the
project.
small nuggets that gives me so much
Yes.
appreciation and
Yes.
fulfillment for the job I was
It's an
doing.
important endeavor that you were a part of for people of all ages and that this would be helpful to them. That's profound.
Yeah,
Yeah. And to be a part of that.
yeah,
Thank you to everybody in healthcare also for
Yes.
that, because that is a profound thing as far as that's
Right.
concerned. And that thank you
Yeah.
so
I
for that.
actually, Sree, before we move on to how the government, scene changes for you, can you just give our audience maybe 2 or 3 or 4 project types that you were a part of? Because I don't think everybody quite understands what does it mean to manage a hospital project. Like it's kind of vague. When we're talking about banking, people could be implementing a whole new credit card system that you might see at the
hmm
grocery store, at everybody's checkout. But what are some of the things besides the cardiology machine that you worked on or implemented during some of your healthcare time?
So their main application is managing the electronic health record. So there will be a lot of projects related to that. Um, So think about patient coming into an hospital system, your patient registration. You have to make sure the application is all ready for registration. How can we make it easy, accessible, and efficient from a patient perspective and also from an hospital staff perspective?
Hmm.
To run any organization, some of the backbones are the accounting, the finance application, HR
Right.
applications, benefit systems. How do you manage the enrollment? So all those standard pieces still exist. So you can still think about those all in my experience, I've seen it's always been same across the organization. How you run an organization may be different, but those components remain the same.
Right. So I
So
come
apart
in,
from that,
like, go ahead.
So apart from that, from other operations, when you focus on the business units, it depends upon like how many different business units there is. Ophthalmology, there is dentistry,
Right.
there is cardiology, there is rheumatology. So every business unit have their own functions, their own
Wow.
softwares, how they see the patient. So you have to, um, depending upon the projects, you have to go meet with them, understand what kind of business they are in, what requests they have, and provide whatever they ask for. Sometimes it can be just a process improvement, or and yeah, process improvement. When you think about process improvement, people can think about as simple as you're having patients come in. What does that process looks like from the moment the patient enters the door? What do they do? They come in, someone's there to greet them, there is an application. Is that the optimized path, or is there anything more we can do to optimize it?
Mm-hmm.
So something those
Yeah,
are
we
so
have that change every time I go to the doctor, right? You go in and you're like, oh, this is different than last time. Like I had to scoot over to urgent care for something and I was like, oh, and actually Matt did
uh-huh.
too, right? His daughter just broke her collarbone and
That's right.
was it efficient? Did we get through? Oh, wow, that was pretty quick. Oh, that's a
Mm-hmm.
slick little machine that I got to fill this out. But someone in the background put that all in
Yeah,
play and for
place.
those people who
Mm-hmm.
are not project management professionals listening, that's what we are like, wow, these are superpowers that can get executed behind the scene to make our enjoyment of the healthcare services that we received, even better each time. So,
Mm-hmm.
Your queue that much shorter, your
yes.
information that much more accurate, right?
Hmm.
All of that.
Yeah. So then the shift
Yeah.
to the government ocean. Um, it's new. You said you're
No.
just getting your feet wet, kind of wading into the waters. Um,
Yeah.
and
Are
Yeah,
you
from
waist deep? Are you in
yeah,
your
waist deep.
shins? Where are you
no,
feeling right now?
no, I'm still in
Okay.
my
Toes.
feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
toes.
Got it. No,
But
okay.
what kind of projects are happening there? This is another question. Like I told my daughter this morning, I'm getting to have this wonderful conversation today. And, she's thinking, oh, is that like putting in stop signs or, what are the projects that happen in the
That
community or
can be a
county
project
government? Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
So community, like I think this is another area. It's getting me excited as well because I'm learning new. It's every day how life happens, right?
Hmm.
The community, the government is where you live, who is taking care of what's happening. Understanding more about where your money goes, how it's being
Hmm.
spent. So your
Hmm.
parks. So the projects are like there are parks and recreation, how the
Right.
government manages that. There is open space,
Hmm.
and how do they manage it? And there is the fleet services, the road signs,
Oh, sure.
lights, everything. The
Salting the
government
road,
manages that.
plowing the
Salting
street.
the road. Yes, yes.
Those traffic
Uh,
signs, right?
Hmm.
Right in
Yes, the
there. Yep.
traffic signs, yep, all belong to the government. And in addition, they also have human services and the
Mm.
healthcare. A small piece of healthcare also belongs to the government. And I sit in the IT wing of it. So when this is the business side of it. So whenever they are having new projects, then we step in and help them out with those projects. Other standard IT projects are again the finance application, HR
Hmm.
application. Um, ma- so what are the different projects I worked on recently? I worked on putting together or upgrading one of the systems for the parks and recreation. So that was one of the new projects. So this is all new domain, totally different terminology for me,
Yes.
coming from in healthcare into government. But for project managers out there, we all speak the same language, right? So we
Yes.
all start with planning and then move into execution. We monitor and control the project, close the project, and move on to the next one. So these
Yes.
are all
Mhm.
it's always stays the same, but what do you plan for? What are the requirements for that specific project? And how do you work with your people and get the project to the finish line? That's where that's where your art and science of project management comes into play when implementing the project.
Right. And we talked about that and we keep talking about that on this podcast, episode after episode, people have stayed in the same niche and have changed. And even though the terminology changes, the experience from a high level is mostly the same.
Yes, very true. Yep, absolutely. I agree to that. And the experience helps your curiosity and keeping up to date with what's happening around you, and then learning about people. And I think that's something I started spending more time this year since joining the county, like emotional intelligence. That's something, that's the other piece I'm getting more involved in. It's very important. I'm learning during this stage of my life. I'm learning that emotional intelligence and building relationship are very important for any project manager. You need to understand where you stand from an emotional standpoint, and where your the colleague, coworker, the people you're working with, where they are coming from, and how do you communicate that message in the situation where we are, and building that social awareness before you can work on any projects. That's an interesting theory.
You said you're working on it. Have you found any resources that you would like to share with our audience on, how to learn more about that?
Absolutely. Daniel Goleman's book.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Daniel Goleman, I think he is the father of, he started the topic on the emotional intelligence. So his books are very interesting. It gets into very detail, very deep on the concepts with very beautiful examples from the research he has done. So I started with that, and I think he also has an emotional intelligence for kids. Like how do you work with kids? So I'm reading that book right now. It's interesting because I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Yes,
and
you have your own lab assignments right there in the kitchen.
I would love to test it with them all.
Right.
We'll see how it goes, but that's a very interesting. And there is also books by Brené Brown. I love those books by her.
Yeah, I'll drop some of those in the chat for our audience. I'm sure they'll appreciate it for sure. If you think of more, you can always share them with me, and I'll drop them in, at a later time. Matt, do you have any that you're thinking of?
No, I was just thinking we could pin our conversation and come back in a decade and see how the emotional intelligence of the children is going.
Yes,
right?
that's. I was looking at Sree's LinkedIn profile. She had a lot about strategic thinking. I don't know if you even know this, because once you've written your profile, you kind of don't look at it for a time. But I was really caught by the strategic thinking and strategic road mapping and orchestration towards goals for all of the projects that you've done across your career span. Road mapping, optimizing resource allocation, budgeting, you're taking an approach towards decision times. It seemed like, I think at one point you mentioned that you were able to reduce some of those, project times by like 80% and a 50% increase in project efficiency. Are you just a strategic thinker overall? It seems like that's a superpower.
Yes, I think that's how I see through the chaos. That's what I think. Like, because if you, this is one of the quote from Stephen Covey as well, from one of the very early big books that I read about, 7 Steps for Highly Effective Leaders, something like that. So you always start with an end in your mind. So that I think that's my vision, or that's my strategic thinking. Whenever I start any project, the first thought that comes to me is like, how does the end product look like? What does the end product look like? And that's where I start from. And we can go through a lot of bumps and challenges and issues and risks that will be thrown throughout the process, but what is your ultimate goal. So
That's good
I have
advice.
recently I have recently received appreciation from one of the leaders in the organization saying I run a very tight ship. So I think that makes me really proud for what I stand for, right? Like they know what I'm going to talk about. They know who is going to be involved. What are the responses? And just you guys just move through it, get the quick status, and move on to the next one. So that's
efficiency.
one of
Yeah, it's a strategy towards efficiency, I think, right? And I saw that on your LinkedIn profile. It's like, I'm a strategic thinker. I can help companies with strategic road mapping. Because I move efficiently, we can cut the rigmarole out of everything and save that time for the team and for other valiant efforts.
And have those little conversation ahead of time, like what you're going to talk about. If you don't understand, have those little side conversation. So even with one, like when you start the project, it's going to take some time for you to get the hang of how things are going to happen. That's in project management terminology or in change management terminology. That's the initial forming, norming, storming, that sequence. So it will take some time to understand who the people are in the projects you're working with, how they would like to be involved in the project, what level of involvement. So understand your people, understand the project, understand your stakeholders, understand your leadership team, what they're looking for. So gather all those information. And once that's the initiation planning phase of it, once you get a hang of it, and then it should not take, if you have a solid plan, it should be a, I don't want to say a smooth ride, but it should be a pretty good ride through the execution and implementation. Because everything is in place, right? Who are the players? How do you escalate when any risk happens? You have the team that is going to resolve it, and everyone's supporting the project. Often, constantly mention we are all here for the same common goal to deliver the project. So how can we help each other and make it successful?
There's days for project manager appreciation, but it should be every day, because what happens, and what I hear you saying, is that you're taking on the responsibility to understand all of the people involved, how they want to communicate, how they don't want to communicate, what their goals are, what, how they code, what their, gates are, what, all of those people. And the person who's not the project manager can then sit back and do their work, because you've got that all under wraps. And what a relief. Like, I'm sitting here going, oh, that would be so great if someone would just manage all of those wild things that are out there to be done, and I can just accomplish the tasks that I'm responsible for, and you can bundle that up so that it is executed well. And I don't have to worry about what my neighbor's doing, because if we all think about group projects at school, I don't know who loved those, because there wasn't a project manager. It was just a bunch of people, trying to get their A on the assignment, or not trying, whatever the case might have been.
It's very interesting you bring about the group project at school. I'm also a board member with the local project management,
I wanted to bring
PMI Mile Hi project management community. So one of the local teacher reached out to the chapter and asked about, like, if anyone would be willing to come and talk about project manager. So I love kids, right? I have kids, and I want to ingrain the project management very early in there while they are growing up. So this teacher, she is planning a STEM project for 6th graders, and she thought about project management, and she mentioned the same point, like Trina, how you said, I have every role defined, but they saw a gap of, like, it's not coming together. There is always a missing piece. It's not coming together. We are thinking to add a role called project manager. I was super excited.
That's great. So what a smart idea.
I'm going to pair up with her and maybe help her out, set this.
You could change the world as we know it Honestly, I don't know who in my life liked group projects, but maybe it could be a whole change of the whole planet if we all start educating people.
Projects are how it's done, as far as that's concerned, right? And,
yes.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
Well, we're coming to kind of the close of our time together, but I did want to highlight your chapter that you're involved in. And we've talked about it on other episodes, but for those who haven't listened before, the Project Management Institute is the governing body kind of globally for all project managers. And PMI is the acronym that follows them around. And the PMI has chapters regionally, locally, globally, and these small groups in local areas then form together to support one another and offer professional development and kind of a shepherding through some of the PMP certification processes from new to veteran PMs. And you're involved for the PMI Mile Hi Chapter. And what is your board position there again?
I'm the vice president for membership.
Okay.
So taking care of the members within the chapter. The different roles in the chapter board are the president, VP of membership, there is professional development VP, then we have finance, marketing, and outreach. So these are different roles. We have different events, programs organized for our members, and PMI Mile Hi Chapter is one of the largest,
wow.
10 top 10 chapters in the globe. So very proud to be part of the
Congratulations.
board. We have close to 4,200 members in the chapter.
That's a big group.
That's a lot.
Would you recommend, I mean, I'm guessing your answer is going to be yes, but for our audience, as we close, do you recommend looking for your local PMI chapter and, just visiting a meeting, picking a day?
Absolutely. So our website is pmimilehigh.org. Check out all the events. Our website just got a relook recently.
Nice.
It's coming along more beautifully.
How do people find the chapter near them? Go to pmi.org
yes,
and then look.
Go to
locally?
pmi.org, your global chapter, and look for volunteering opportunities. I think when you sign up, it shows different chapters that are available that are near to your region. So you can go visit the chapter. If not, if you know a specific chapter that you're interested in, you can pick those chapter and then sign up for that. You can always reach out to your local chapter through email and ask them if you can if you can attend one or couple of events to see what the chapter is about, what they're focusing on, and then go from there. We offer a lot of programs, like starting with mentoring, membership programs, like networking.
The events page is actually where I was going to direct people for their chapters that they find through their exploration. That's a great way to just go to one of the mixers or a dance party if your chapter is so fun.
We'll drop the links to the PMI.org chapter, site, and even drop the Mile Hi in there. But locally, you can find any chapter has different events and different professional development, as does Project Insight. We have a whole page on our website, projectinsight.com, for resources for professional project managers to get those PDU credits in a virtual way during our webinar series, and many chapters do as well. So Sree, we want to thank you for being here with us today, for taking time out of your busy day and for joining us and for sharing about your superpowers of empathy and relationship building and strategic thinking and puzzle solving and, emotional intelligence. We didn't even plan to talk about that, but what a great highlight, for people to learn about the people around them and to build the trust and collaborative relationship that they need to deliver great projects. We're so thankful that you joined us today, and we know our listeners enjoyed you as well. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Shana and Matt. It's amazing opportunity. I get excited when I'm talking about project management. I'm very passionate about project management. So thanks once again for the opportunity.
And I forgot to say, we should all raise our mugs. I think everybody has theirs here. For those of you listening, we have our Wear Your Cape to Work mugs with our superhero avatars on it. Sree got hers the other day. And if you'd like to get one of your own, we have a link in the show notes as well if you'd love to get your own superhero avatar and have it on a special mug for you too. But thanks for being here, Sree. We'll talk with you soon, I hope.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on the Wear Your Cape to Work podcast, hosted by Project Insight. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, or leave us a comment. If you subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or other favorite podcast channels, you'll receive notifications of all of our new episodes. We'd also love it if you would share Wear Your Cape to Work with your network of PMPs or anyone else who might enjoy the show. Project Insight is an online project and portfolio management software that helps companies connect project data from across all of their teams and software tools so that they can make confident decisions about their business. Our website is projectinsight.com, and there you can find many resources for project professionals, including free PDU webinars, as well as a place to register for a demonstration or a consultation with one of our success teams. Thank you once again for joining today's conversation, and most importantly, thanks for wearing your cape to work.